All right,
Great.
let's get started.
Sure.
Yeah.
I want to kick off by saying I love your shirt. First of all, this has to be one of the
Thank
most
you.
colorful, outfits we've had on any episode ever. And
Is
I
it?
like, I like your, representation. It's nice.
Peter, welcome to our podcast show.
Thank
To
you.
the listeners, this is a story we've been chasing for almost half an year, 6 months or more. And me, especially, I've been very patient about this because I love the story and I want to bring this or document this in the form of our podcast episode and hopefully spread to a larger audience out there. So, welcome to our podcast show, What's Your Sankalp? I'm your
Thank
host,
you.
Sankalp, and this is my co-host Mounika, and we have a little one next to us as well. Well, to start off,
Uh-huh.
I play one instrument, which is drums. Cool. We have someone special on our show. I don't know the latest count yet, but his bio says 45 instruments at least. How's the count right now?
I stopped counting.
Okay.
I felt it's like too good to be true myself. I'm like, no chance. Let's just stop it at that.
Right.
You know,
So,
it's funny how if you ask someone, they wouldn't even be able to list like 10 instruments, and
yeah.
here you are coming in with like 45 and more, possibly.
Yeah. I love learning actually. The sound of every instrument just makes me want to dig a little deep, just understand what you need to do in order to get that sound out. Or if that's too simple, then what else can you do with it? Like that's what kind of kept my curiosity um, really shot up every single time I picked up an instrument.
What's the
So,
latest instrument you're learning or hooked onto?
to be very honest, something which the entire world has been doing.
Okay.
I've been trying to learn how to produce music without musical instruments because, I mean, there's DJs, there's music producers, there's everyone out there trying to do so much with just a laptop.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm this kind of person who can do anything with a musical instrument, but I can't for the life of me figure out how you do it just with a laptop. So
Right.
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't count as a musical instrument, but I'm sure a lot of the other musicians would be like, dude, what? How can you not do this? But I put a lot of my time into actual musical instruments, which does not include anything to do with the laptop or like the computer. So I'm not much of tech front on this side.
Right.
However, on the other side, I am.
Now,
Yeah.
to start off, once again, Gladson is your first name, but I want to let the listeners know that one man band is your middle name in a way. What an honor to have you with us. To start off, to talk about who you are today, we definitely want to address the past and the history. So let's start with that. How did this
Sure.
restart of yours?
Question back to you.
Yeah,
Musical journey or one man band journey?
let's start with music.
And then
Okay.
speak about when it became the
One
one
man
man
band.
band. Yeah.
So for me, music started when I was really young. I probably was like 3 or 4 years old when I actually started off. And how it came to light is, I think in one of my birthdays, third or fourth birthday, somebody gifted me a toy keyboard.
Okay.
And my dad's a pastor, and he's very musically inclined. So he took that chance, opportunity, and he taught me how to play Happy Birthday and a couple of other tunes.
Right.
So that kind of led to understanding that yes, this child has something to do with music. Let's just keep going.
Right. Okay.
And in the meanwhile, I also started taking spoons and forks in the kitchen, and I
Right.
started to bang on things. So that's how my interest in rhythm started off.
Okay.
As I kept growing older, I also watched a lot of people uh, play at my church because, you know, 4 or 5 Sundays, we'd have at least a guest or two um, in a month, right? So I get to actually watch someone who's been playing music for a long time come and present in our church or something like that. So as I would watch them play, if I had access to an instrument, I would maybe try to play it the same way. Or my parents, like every parent would, they were like, hey, listen, my kid has an interest in this. and then they'll let you touch the instrument a little bit. So that was my little start. So in church, I started playing the bongo, which is just two drums.
Right.
Yeah.
You put
Yeah.
it between your lap, right? And there was one another guy who used to play the congo. That's threes,
Yeah.
right? So since that was louder, of course, like our church had like 400 or 500 people,
Right.
and that would be like the lead instrument. And I was kind of playing on this. I think somewhere in the middle of the entire phase, he left for South Africa or somewhere,
Okay.
and by default, I got upgraded.
I can totally relate to that. My drummer journey started similar to this. I
Wow.
envied someone because they used to play for the choir, for the school choir, and then
Okay.
they had to leave, and that's when I got the opportunity.
Yeah.
Same happened in my undergrad when the
Okay.
left, but he was the
Uh-huh.
only drummer in the college. Once he
Okay.
left, then I got the opportunity. So
Whoa. Yeah, but that helped, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so it's a good thing. Yeah, pretty much that. And when I came to the Congo, I started realizing that, oh, people give me a little more respect now. You know, I'm still like third or fourth grade,
okay,
but I control the beats of the church. You know,
right, yeah,
so people would come and be like, "Hey, Gladdy, can you like Gladdy is my pet name, so they're like, Gladdy, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you teach us this?" I was like, "Wow, cool." So I used to also watch a lot of other people try their instruments. If I had access to something, I would try it here as well.
okay,
Um, and as I kept growing older, I figured that my curiosity is what led me to learning. There
okay,
was no um, there was no learning or formal training I had
right,
ever,
right,
even till date. I don't have a formal training, but it was just curiosity that led me to pick up more and more instruments. And when I was in my secondary school, I picked up uh, playing the drums itself.
okay,
Then I learned how to play the flute, harmonica,
okay,
keyboard, guitar. Yeah, so I started kind of picking up all these instruments. By the time I was in my college, I was already playing like 30, 35 instruments. And how I got the number, if you ask,
right,
is we are three boys. Okay. I mean, back then we were two boys, but the house would still be so shabby. And my mom would be like, come on, like clean up the house,
yeah,
keep all your things in the right place.
right,
So I was like, okay, if I'm keeping it in the right place, I'm going to make a list of things.
right,
That's how my list came. I counted 35 small and medium sized musical instruments.
okay,
10 of them, which I was able to play, or I had an opportunity to play, and I probably played a little bit, even if it was just like 5%, I added it onto the list. Uh, they were instruments like an actual grand piano,
Yeah.
a real drum kit, uh, saxophone, violin, instruments like that, which would probably really be expensive. And I don't think it would, back then, it was really easy for someone to own these instruments. You
yeah,
needed to really have like a good big house to have a grand piano, of course.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like a BMW, right?
yeah,
So all of these factors counted in. And somewhere in the middle of my college time, I found out 35 instruments lying in my house, um, and 45 in all.
okay,
Uh, so the number is pretty aged,
right,
so to
right,
say. Uh, More than 10 years back, I had 45 written down somewhere. So I don't know
okay,
what the number is right now, but you know what? I'm not trying to fool people by saying, hey, like, 65 instruments. You know what? Let's keep it a little believable at 45 and let's carry on the show.
right, right.
I don't know how many instruments, but quite a lot. But I'm grateful to God for that talent.
There was one thing that we learned while we were reading about or learning about you. There's
Okay.
this little story about how you share with the world that you did a little illustration or you had a dream. I don't know the correct story around this, but it was about a man and how he had several instruments, not
Yeah.
really himself, but it was something similar to how my journey started in music. I
Wow.
wanted to explain to my parents that uh, if you want to buy me a drum kit or a cell phone, this is what I want more. And how I
Okay.
showed them this was I took a whiteboard and I drew a drum kit on a stage with some
Okay.
speakers and a little audience. And I told them, okay, this is what I want. I want the drum
Wow.
kit because a phone is something everyone can have, but I want a
Yeah.
drum kit more at this point of time. And I felt a little bit of a connection in how you visioned your journey of being the one man band. I wanted to talk about this because how it's important to have that vision.
Yeah.
Sometimes just saying it out loud to the world or
Manifest. Yeah.
writing it down. So manifesting something.
Yeah.
So I wanted to highlight that. And if you can share how much that plays a huge role in your life.
When I did it, I didn't know it would actually.
Yeah.
Right.
True. Yeah.
When we're all young, our parents say something, we don't know why they say it. But
Yeah.
later when it hits,
Yeah.
I'm like, and we're like, oh, that is why.
Yeah.
So it was very simple actually. See, I'm not a very spiritual or a religious guy,
Okay.
but I know that like uh, if there is something before music, for me it's God. And I mean the very fact that I breathe, right?
Right.
I'm very indebted to God that I get a chance to live once again
Right.
after knowing what conditions I had to go through.
Right.
But that being said, it actually happened at a church camp. It was a children's camp where people like kids from around Mumbai were there, and the person who was kind of leading that entire session, um, he was kind of he told all of us to kind of draw the picture of a person you want to be like when you grow old.
Okay.
And honestly, I don't have a background of watching a lot of movies. I did
Right.
not grow up watching movies, so uh, the fact that everyone would say, "Hey, listen, you know what? This is a star I want to be like Sachin Tendulkar, Amitabh Bachchan."
Hmm.
I didn't have a role model, at least not in the movie space, or
Right.
someone who used to be who's out in the media.
Right.
And the only few people who I looked up to was people who came to my church. My dad first, because I saw that he would pray for people, he'd help people, he'd go out of his way, he'll do things for people. Like, I'm like, why do you do this?
Mhm.
But then there was a sense of fulfillment that he actually came and, uh, I mean, I would see it. We would see it in our family.
Right.
That would give us a joy. And these kind of things actually played a lot in my childhood.
Okay.
And I wanted to become a pastor like him. And the second thing I wanted to do is I wanted to, again, like it was not out of a religious thing, stigma, but just because at his position, he does something good for the society. So that was something which kind of caught my attention.
Right.
Second thing is I had my own interests. I saw that, oh, music is a big part of me. I want to do music. So I
Right.
always imagine. So I don't know if you've come across this, but like in churches, we have this worship thing. So there's
Okay.
a bunch of musicians and people will lead people into songs and stuff. So everyone, like it's like a very regular band, like if you
Yeah.
see um uh Maroon 5, right,
Right.
for that matter,
Yeah.
or Coldplay,
Yeah.
or any band for that matter, that guy will lead the entire band with a guitar.
Right.
तभी से I had this thing where, oh, if I lead, I will not lead with the guitar. I want to do it right from behind. So I want to be a leader from the drumming
Yeah.
position. I'm a drummer.
Right. Right.
So that's something I was like, okay, I want to be a drummer and I wanted to lead people with doing that. And the third thing is I was super crazy about bikes. Two
Okay.
wheels is something I really love. Like back in the day, I used to be this hardcore stunt guy on the
Mhm.
bicycle, BMXs and all of that. Um, So these three dreams were on my mind when the preacher said, "Do draw something, draw a person of draw what you want to be like."
Right.
And I drew that person, thinking he's probably 30, 35 years old, and whatever instrument I knew, I just drew it on the side because there was space. And I'm honestly not the best artist that way.
Yeah.
So I just drew some random things, and we were just told like, just commit this dream into God's hand and forget about it. So I did, but I also uploaded it to Orkut.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Who remembers
Orkut days.
Orkut? The
Orkut,
night before
MySpace.
Facebook, yeah.
And when Orkut was supposed to shut down, all my albums were there. So I downloaded them and I uploaded it to Facebook.
Okay.
So that's how I was reminded of that picture in 2015. I was suicidal. I was super suicidal because I had a lot of things I wanted to do, but I couldn't.
Okay.
So I was like, so frustrating, man. Like, I can barely breathe. What am I supposed to think about my dreams? How am I supposed to think about my dreams? So 2015, I had this revelation. I was sleeping and I had this dream, and I clearly knew that it was God speaking to me. And I heard his voice saying, Gladson, how about you take all these instruments and you play them together? And the visual that came to my mind is that.
Right.
Funny thing is, it's very difficult for someone to just believe that because um, scientifically people would be like, you know what, that picture would have been in your head. But you know what, you and I might talk right now in this podcast, and a year later, there's a lot of details I might not remember. So I'm a
Right.
very forgetful person. So I'm like, I cannot remember for the life of it what I had drawn.
Right.
But I woke up that morning, I shared it with my brother, my younger brother, and I told Joy, this is what I saw. And I don't think it's like a regular dream. It's something which really caught me. And something tells me that I should open Facebook and go through my old posts and check if there's something like that. And if it is there, I'm gonna flip out right now. And that's exactly what happened. Because that picture was there. I know where it happened. I know how it happened. Everything about that picture came to my mind.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I shared it with my parents. I was like, Mom, Dad, this is something I saw in my dream and feel like I should be doing it. My mom was like, listen, you're not able to breathe. You need to do breathing exercises after losing like 60% of your lungs. You got to be really careful with your life. So it's a fair point. And I was like, you know what? How about we just take this in prayer? Let's see if it's really from God. And if it is really from God, it will go, everything will fall in place. And if it is not, it might just fade away. So let's see how it goes. The rest is history.
Yeah. So this is how the story of the one man band actually began.
Yeah.
You talked about obviously the challenges and the health problems that you've faced or had. And I remember something you said in one line, if I can put it, that you're a result of how you reacted to what life gave you, right? And that's such a
Yeah.
beautiful thing to say. But talking about the one man band,
Mhm.
so at a time, how many instruments are you able to play?
Up to 14.
Okay.
And how did you train yourself, or when did you think that, okay, like this, there's a certain structure that I need to create in order to be able to play up to 14 instruments at the same time?
Um, I'm sweating for this answer. I don't know how it works, but I found out a way to answer it. I think it also comes from knowing different instruments over time um, has allowed my body to understand, okay, if it is a guitar, this is how it's supposed to be held and played. If it's a drum, this is how it's supposed to be held and played. If you need to play both together, you need to kind of balance out in such a way that you are able to play both of them together.
It
And the
sounds
way
like a weird magic power that you have. I don't know if you use this skill in any other form of your life, doing simultaneously multiple things.
not that I should recommend people, but I do a lot of things that way. So yeah, um, I think it's all about experimenting. I would say experimenting was a huge part of it.
Right.
Because even when we were building the instruments, none of us have any background of building things or engineering,
Yeah.
physics, and all of that. But if I show you pictures and videos of how it actually came about, there's a lot of engineering that's involved.
Right.
Yeah.
It was just purely curiosity, and if I want to make this happen, what will I do to make it happen?
Right.
That's persistence. That's it.
I was able to see a little video of the behind the scenes recently that you put of how you construct your entire equipment and set. Uh,
Hmm.
And I thought, setting up a drum kit
It's hard.
itself is, people don't know, right? How difficult
Yeah,
it is to set up a drum kit with all those little screws and stands and
yeah,
stuff. But what you do is even more difficult. But going back, I highlighted your health challenges a little bit because if people have excuses which are smaller than what you faced, I want
hmm,
them to take this as an inspiration. So, if you can give a little background on what happened, and you also talked about how you had few negative thoughts, and during a little time frame of your life, how you
yeah.
were able to maybe use music to transition from what you were then to what you are today.
For sure. I think that's a great point you brought out. And it is something which I, in my journey of 7 years of being a one-man band, have realized that instead of keeping the story to myself, I think it's better to share it. And even if in a room of 100 people, one person is touched, I mean, that's a win. That's
Yeah.
what I live for.
Absolutely,
And it's
100%.
not easy. I want to
Yeah.
highlight that too, that only if you're comfortable, and how maybe your mindset even changed
Yeah.
from when were going through it to now being so strong enough to talk about it and share
Yeah.
with the world. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So I lost everything. By everything, I mean hopes, dreams were a default because when you are suddenly told that, hey, listen, you are now um attacked with an illness which is in the lung. You mean, you know what? Like, even if something was there in the finger or like my hand, if it's a simple wound, you know that, you know what, that'll be covered. Or if you
Right.
have a burn mark, you can fix it or let it go. And like, you know what? Yeah, something happened. Now, how are you supposed to fix the lung? Right? So my question to God was like, why did you give me so much talent, but also take away part of my life?
Right.
And it's very relatable to every single one of us because um, we always have this question of why does something negative happen to us, even
Yeah.
though we did not call for it.
Yeah.
I never smoked in my life. Why am I supposed to get attacked with an illness which is best if I would see someone else who is
Yeah.
doing it and calling it for. I
Yeah.
never got into that. Why am I supposed to deal with that? But then I also realized that sometimes we all face things in life which we do not call for. And the real test of life is when you know or you figure out how to actually deal with that in that situation, your reaction to it, or how you kind of move forward from there. Are you going to succumb to your injury or are you going to go forward? Is everything that will change your life.
Yeah.
So I got to know my true friends, the ones who wanted to be around me, even if I was in a dying situation. And when I say dying situation, it's not it's not just for the phrase, but
Right.
I was actually just breathing once in 6 or 7 seconds.
Right.
Um, every single morsel of rice that I ate came out 3 times. I'm wondering, dude, like there's nothing in my body. What is coming out? Like parts of my body or what? No. I mean, now I can make fun of it and do it, but like, back then, if I had to sit for half an hour, I had to lie down straight for 4 hours. Otherwise, I had no energy to get up. I wrote so many songs at that time, just because I was like, you know what? I've always dreamt of being a musician. So maybe if I do not wake up the next day, because every single breath I took was a conscious breath.
Yeah.
And if I did not wake up the next day, I would want something of me to be left on earth.
Right.
So I wrote songs, and with zero musical knowledge, I used to do this course from NIIT, and they used to give free netbooks, 10 inches.
Okay.
And in that, there was this Audacity. There's a small audio recording software.
Yeah.
Right.
I would just record my music in that with whatever I had. And I didn't care for quality. I was just like, I don't know if I'll live tomorrow, but let me leave something. Um, so this is when my entire life was being tested, and I understood that I was reminded of a lot of things which I learned in church, learned through my parents as people who empower other people. Um, right? When when everything you do, uh, when you lose your strength, is
Yeah.
when God picks up. You know, I was always reminded of this illustration or a picture, which it's like a cliff, and there's this person at the cliff, and he has nowhere to go. He doesn't know what to do, so he's actually at the brink of falling. But just down there, there's like a hand which is right there, ready to pick up,
Yeah.
and then taking it higher. I felt like that. I mean, I thought these things were just spoken out,
Right.
Yeah.
but when my strength was lost, God's strength came in. And music was like the medium through which it kind of spoke to my heart.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I was in the hospital and the doctors told me that, Gladson, you won't be able to even play a simple flute, it shattered my life. I was like, man, you know what? I can play so many instruments. What am I supposed to do with this talent? I don't know of friends who can play so many instruments. I mean, it was not a boast, but it was a question. It was anger. It was frustration.
Yeah.
Um, but that is when I also realized that, you know what, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
So if someone's going through something, right, and you did not call for it, for someone who's listening, I would always say that this phase will not last long. It could be days, it could be weeks, it could be months, it could be years.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, now when I speak to people and they say, Gladson, you are over it. I've been dealing with this for 10 years. What am I supposed to say?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't know how it feels to be in your shoes, but I want to empathize and I want to be there. I wish you knew how it felt for me to not know if I'm going to wake up the next day. But if you can relate to that, I'm sure I am able to relate a little bit to your situation. I know 10 years is a long time,
Right.
but just hold on and just keep doing what you're doing.
And that's what human beings are about, right? That's what's beautiful about us, that we have the ability to empathize
Yeah,
with, and form that human connection, which says,
yeah,
hey, I know you're going through something because I've gone through it as well,
yeah,
but maybe just in a different form, in a different time frame, at a different, rate than you have. But that feeling of wanting to do better or be better, that's something that ties all of us
Yeah.
together.
yeah. Um, I think that was perfectly put. That was
especially
perfectly put.
especially irrespective of the cards we're dealt with, right? Which
Yeah,
we, like you said, we don't have a choice. Sometimes we don't know, life just will throw something at us and we have no sight of what will happen next.
yeah, for sure. If it's going to be like a clean bowled or a wide or a, like, you don't know. It could be a sixer too, right? So instead of thinking if it's going to be a clean bowled, what if you just go with, hey,
Yeah.
let's hit for a sixer.
Yeah.
What if it actually happens?
All right, so officially welcoming you back to the second segment of the podcast, Gladson. We're
Sweet.
so honored to have you. For those of you listening and watching, today we have Gladson Peter, aka the one man band, and possibly India's first and only talent who is named so. Gladson, do you think that there are people, or there might be people who have taken inspiration from what you do and may have tried to replicate it?
Yeah, absolutely. I do remember I've had a couple of conversations in the middle of lockdown. This is when I was talking to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, I don't think I do talk to a lot of people, but in general, I think lockdown was a lot, especially through Clubhouse and all of that.
Right.
So I did come across a couple of people who, um, in some ways, they were kind to me in, asking questions a certain way, which will not make me feel like, hey, listen, I want to do this. What are you doing? And all that. But there was also a couple of people who kind of came up in a very weird way, something which did feel a little weird. But nevertheless, to answer your question, yes, there are people who have already started doing it. They have their own renditions of one man band. I know, I think one or two people already. I don't remember much of it, but I know that they're kind of working on things, and I'm happy that the ball is kind of rolling, and it's also engaging a lot of um, people to kind of use things a lot more creatively than usually what's there.
Absolutely. And like you said, lockdown was one of those times where, everyone really was putting their faculties to use and trying to get creative on how to make music in different and, more creative ways.
Yeah.
Uh, and of course, like it's, undoubtedly you have the talent, right? But what I want to ask you is the reality of it, the reality of wanting to pursue a career in this field, which you don't really have someone who's done it before, or you don't really have a set path for you to follow. And I want to speak about the, things like finances and, things like how do you sustain in this field that is ever changing. And if
Yeah.
you could share your experience, yeah, we'd love that.
I think that's a great point and something which should be spoken about, especially for someone who's, if they're listening to this and they really want to jump into a field of music in general, forget the one man band, but, or even if not music, generally in art, right? I remember comedy. I think we all would remember comedy from a time of when Johnny Lever and all these people were, right? Whereas now, when Veerdas is doing like a different kind of a world tour, the
Yeah.
entire way this entire uh, comedy section has shape shifted, if I may use that word,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
is drastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 2012, it was very gutsy of me to jump into music. 2012, 2013, I was very gutsy. For me, I'm also the kind of person who would take risks and I don't care for losing.
Right.
I do care. I mean, my heart thumps, but
Mhm.
then I'm like, you know what? That is where adventure begins, man. Like, why do you want to sit on the comfortable side?
Mm.
I'm that kind. So to each their own, the way they are brought up, plus the way they would react to a situation. For me, I've had a comfortable life, and after knowing that, dude, listen, 60% of your lungs are already gone. What more? Like, what's the worst that can happen? Before your life ends, do the craziest of things you can. Um, so I really worked hard when I was in college. When I came back to college, senior college, this is when I was thin. I was recovering. I had previously lost all my friends. Now the friends that I'm making are all brand new. They do not probably know the worst side of me. Uh, but now I'm sitting with uh, kids who are like 4 to 5 years younger to me, right?
Right. Right.
Failure itself was a big stigma in my life. It was a huge thing for me to overcome. I failed my 12th 3 times, twice because of my health condition, once because of something else. Still got nothing to do with my studies. Not like I was the best, but
Mhm.
a couple of other factors came in. We'll jump to that some other time. Uh, but when I came back to music, I spent at least 10 to 12 hours of my day in music, not practicing music, but exercising music. Practicing for me was not a big thing, but exercising it and jamming with uh, everyone I could was important for me. That gave me more learning than going back home and trying to figure out some beats on the drum or like some chords. And I built a small little audience for myself in the college belt when I was going. So I went to literally every college, and people would know, oh, there's this guy who does this. So I kind of went through that phase. I cherished it. I am very grateful that I was able to not let my focus go.
Mm.
I was very focused at that time that if I before my TY, I need to have enough audience that I should not have to go for an office job, because that's something I did not want to. Before I came back to college, I also worked in a call center and a couple of other offices when I was, not in regular college. I was just attempting my 12th. So I had a lot of free time. So I made some money and I found that office is not my space. So I really worked hard those next 3 years in my first, second, and third year to build
Right.
an audience, to make sure that I do not have to go and hunt for a job. So I directly went into the field of music. I was working with an NGO, which uh, it's a very honorable mention in my life. Uh, I was paid 1,200 rupees every hour of performance, and I would play about 12 to 15 shows every month in different parts of the city, not stages. It was railway stations, metro stations, parks, public places. We were licensed performers, and our only um, thing over there was there is no setup for you. You take your instrument and your voice, and you just go to that spot and start making music. And you cannot play Bollywood. So that allowed me to explore a lot of other things. We were independent artists. So independent music was on the rise.
Right.
This is when I was able to make 15,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees with just that. And along with that, also take music classes at students' houses. I made a decent amount of money for me to do my college, take care of my own expenses. It gave my parents also confidence that, hey,
Yeah.
career path, okay, this seems little all right. If I make the same money now, what I made then I'm in a bad spot. I haven't upgraded myself. But I also figured that being a musician is not all about just playing music or playing a particular piece.
Yeah.
It's also about how you carry the show.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, if someone does not say a word, I mean, how am I as an audience going to connect? Apart from if that person plays music, right? And if I enjoy it. Other than that, I don't have any other relationship. So I worked hard on my music.
Okay.
I picked up the ukulele.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it came into my life, 2012, if I'm not wrong. And then again, I felt like, oh, there's something still more which I need to know and need in order for me to stick in the music business, music career. That's when I realized I need to learn music business. How am I supposed to sell my art form to people so that they see value and they are able to invite you at their event in exchange for a monetary return?
Yeah.
So there were these three steps. I thought knowing music was everything. False. I thought being a showman is everything. False. You need to also know how to be a businessman in this entire field.
Right.
And it's not I mean, this is why we have managers. But I personally have not had the best experience with a lot of managers. So
Right.
I understand that if I'm recommending, coming back to the crux of this question, how are the finances? How would someone deal with it if they have to enter now?
Mm-hmm.
Instagram stars are not everything. I saw a lot of Instagram singers right after lockdown. I would see them at an event and they don't know how to interact with people because now you've only gotten used to
Yeah.
comments
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's one step. You need to figure out how to connect with the audience. And second thing, if you are managing your own finances, your own business, or in today's term, a musician can also be called as uh, an entrepreneur. If
Right.
Yes.
you,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, then you should know how to figure out how to sell yourself, how to brand yourself,
Yeah.
which I'm still learning. I'm not the best at it, but I know if I have to convince someone to get me on their show, I can do it like without hesitation. But the branding front, I'm still learning, and it's a process.
One.
Finances are great;
Yeah.
it gets better. The only limitation is yourself and how you look at yourself.
One thing I highly respect about what he does is how much you put out on social media, the behind the scenes of
Yeah.
your travel, the event, setting up the place and the after, breakdown and
Yeah.
all of that, which is not a lot of creative artists or musicians do. But I feel like what you do and the tag one man band is something which is viral, ish, content. If you just go out on the street and you try to create a reel, and it's probably easy for you to get that success, but that's not really the case, long term, right? Maybe here and there. What do you think about the face or the graph of your life when you initially maybe started, the term got really famous out there, maybe in the form of TEDx talks or, some other recognition that you got, you had like a high graph. Where do you
Yeah.
think you are in terms of your journey? Do you think there's a constant line or, it's ups and downs? How do you think it's going now?
The last 2 years have been a plateau.
Okay, right,
I had my high in 2016, 17. Um, that was my high. Like I saw so much.
right. Yeah,
I was then living abroad. I was doing
yeah.
shows in China,
Wow.
and after that, I went to one or two countries more to kind of present. But honestly, after lockdown, it's been a plateau. I
Okay,
wouldn't lie, because if I have to make myself look glorious, that would be very fake of me to
right,
do so. But my
right.
plateau has also helped me with a lot of learning, in the sense, okay, if one thing fails, how are you supposed to sustain yourself with other things?
Right, right. Yeah,
Right? So I run multiple businesses, not because I have to sustain myself in music, but I also love the way of, if I have to play shows in order to make money, then I'm actually reaching a stress point.
right.
Mm.
Yeah,
But but if I want to do a show and be creative about it, not think about the money, I
Mm.
should have other sources of income.
Yeah.
right,
This is one thing which I really learned
right,
in this entire thing. Uh, but when you're at a plateau, it is time for you to stay silent, grind, and make sure that the next thing that uh, comes out in a way that everyone is able to resonate with,
right,
right? This
right,
is the only reason I don't post the most amazing content on my Instagram. I
right.
post something that is real, because I feel like over time we've also, I mean, everyone has access to a Sony A7 III,
Mhm.
right? Like you can, if you can't spend 1.5 lakhs on a camera, you can always spend 1,000 rupees and rent. So
Right,
your videos are going to look great anyway.
right,
Uh, Production is something I really love, but at the same time, if someone can relate to what you are doing, which
right,
means if my camera quality is not the best, and someone else who's watching me from, I don't know, even a village where the phone could not hold up a lot,
right.
Yeah.
if they see the same quality, they will feel related. They'll be like, अच्छा हाँ same है यार,
Yeah,
वो भी ऐसे shoot करते हैं, मैं भी ऐसे shoot करता हूँ. Maybe what if they have another talent and they
yeah,
that encourage them कि अरे वो कर सकते तो हम भी कर सकते हैं.
exactly.
So I
Mhm.
mean, I still love quality, but uh, some of my friends actually told me, glad stop thinking about quality, man. Like just go with the flow.
Yeah.
What should be qualitative is your work.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, yes, product packaging is a very important part. That's the reason I was using my camera
Mhm.
from this. But now, if it doesn't help, I think the entire podcast is about uh, talking and getting what's in the mind, and not what you see, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. The white background. Nothing fancy logo or anything yet, but I think something you truly believe in is being that guy next door. Irrespective of that verified badge you have, or the really good editing videos that you might put, the bottom line is the what you want to do is inspire and motivate. Like you said, hopefully, someone else picks up an instrument or some other form of art, and they become the one man band of their chosen art, right?
And
yeah.
uh,
and I have to say that you've inspired me in a way today that I didn't expect happening, because here you are, like, exposing your vulnerabilities and whatnot, but also at the same time, you're so secure in your talent, in what you know, in your, and even things you don't know, you're secure in your ability to be curious about it and learn
yeah.
eventually.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's what I'm taking away today. And this isn't something I expected at all, but it's a pleasant surprise.
Wow, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that worked. It was purely non-intentional for me to. I am taken to another YouTube channel which inspires me every single day. It's called Yes Theory. Do you guys know Yes Theory?
Oh, yes, I do.
Yes, you
Yeah.
I feel like even if I lose all the money I have, right, I can live off of the kindness of people, because people are genuinely beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I am ever gonna feel like I have lost everything and
Yeah,
nothing's gonna hold me up. I
yeah,
think tomorrow if I just tell my friend, bro, मेरे को भूख लगा है, and I can't do anything about it, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have like a lavish meal. You
Yeah.
know, it's all about the connections you build. It's
Right.
it's how
Yeah.
you be with people. Music and all these things are elements. Like there'll be something which you do which I cannot,
Right.
and that's for me to learn. But if I don't have it, I still have our friendship.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, yes theory kind of works for me like that. So that is the point. The point I made about yes theory is because when you mention you feel secure about things, right? One thing is I trust in God. Second thing is I also love the people around me, and even if I lose everything I have today, right? Like I know that the love of people, the gratitude, all of that will definitely be there. But as long as that's not abused, I mean, that's
oh, it's
you
it's
know,
you. I think when you share so much faith, you also have to have a little bit of that doubt exists. But
yeah.
it's really beautiful to have this conversation today and um, realize that there's nothing more important than the human connection, irrespective of how unique of a talent you have.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
which brings me to my next question. There must have been, Gladson, multiple moments where you felt like this is it, like I've made it, or um, any such milestones that you want to share with us today that you've had. We know TEDx, we know that you have millions of viewers, people watching you, people excited about your music. But what do you consider as milestones?
Uh, so everything, all the opportunities that I get uh, are something I'm always grateful for. Nevertheless, if you're talking about I've made it voila situation, I would have to link two events uh, in order to draw the mm, connection
Mm-hmm.
or the highest and the lowest, if I may put it that way.
Okay.
Not to put one down or the other up,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's a pretty understandable thing. So, my first ever corporate event was in front of presidents and prime ministers and ambassadors of the European Union.
Wow.
I was invited as a special speaker, as a special performer to the Taj, which is right next to me right now. And I was asked to play an instrumental. I prepared Heal the World by Michael Jackson
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
because it was an event where all the European leaders are coming
Right.
here and we are celebrating Europe Day,
Okay.
Right.
relation between this country and that union.
Yes.
Uh, and I was clearly told I cannot speak a word.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Because I'm a civilian. You and I will be civilians in front
Yes.
of
Right.
those
Yes.
Yeah.
delegates. Um, and here's what happens. I go off, I'm getting off stage and they say encore. And here I am like, okay, wait, I don't have another song. What am I supposed to do? So I'm sweating my guts out and slowly walking back in. I'm praying. I'm like, abhi naak nahi katna hai. What am I supposed to do? Have zero idea because these are dignitaries, not like people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you imagine? Like I have goosebumps now, and I'm walking back. I have these funny looking shades, like they have lights all over. Okay, now it's funny for me, but like I would do it again if I want to.
Yeah.
I'm walking back, and I'm. What am I supposed to do? I don't know. I can't do the same song again. That would be so stupid. Um, and I hear God speaking to me again in the middle of my walking back. This is what I hear. Share what happened in your life and play your favorite song. This is it. I'm wondering what happened in my life that I must share.
Mm-hmm.
Where God just tells uh, Moses, okay, there's this character, and Moses has to lead a bunch of people from one place to another.
Mhm.
And Moses says, God, I cannot talk. I need someone to speak. God just says, you just lead. Someone will be there to speak, and there's another person appointed. His name is Aaron, and Aaron. Okay, now I'm walking back on stage, and this is all I hear. Share what happened in your life, both of which I have no answer to, and I'm almost there in the middle of stage, and I open my mouth, and God puts these words in my mouth, and I tell the audience that yes, I'm gonna do another song, but I would like to introduce this song. Even now, I have no idea what song I'm gonna play. I'm gonna introduce a song, but before that song, it's a song called Amazing Grace, and I'm like, oh, so I'm playing Amazing Grace. Have you heard Amazing Grace? It's a very popular song in general.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
So I say it's a song called Amazing Grace, and this is what I share on stage, impromptu, not knowing anything. That I lost 60% of my lungs, and the doctors told me that I cannot even play a single flute. But God changed my life for the better. And even though I've lost so much of my lungs, I was persistent, and I never gave up on what I loved doing. And I trusted God at that time. I trusted God. And the second thing I did was I never gave up on the love of my life, which was music. And that is the grace. That is the amazing grace that changed my entire life.
Right.
And that there is a song which held me through the time I was in the hospital. And that's the song I'm going to play for you today. And I said, the first time I'm going to play, second time, if you ever have come across this song, or if you want to take the lyrics and sing it. And I had a goosebump moment. Everybody with their wine glasses and their champagnes, everybody is right in front of in front of the stage. They cannot see my eyes, but I'm teary, and I'm just watching them. As I start playing, they're just taking videos. And then the second time I said, okay, sing with me, not knowing if they actually know the song also. I heard the entire room sing Amazing Grace.
I have goosebumps like all over it. I am not joking. But what a beautiful moment.
But that's not the highlight.
No way.
So this is the day I get the purpose of my life. Till now, I know I want to do something different. I got the idea. Again, when I got the dream back then in December 2015, my thing was that I want to do something new in 2016. Otherwise, I'm going to end my life. And if I do something new in 2016, just because you gave me an idea or gave something for me to do, I'm going to make money and help people who don't have the means. Because I was in Sion Hospital, government hospital, where, see, I'm weak-hearted when it comes to medical stuff myself. And I see people left, right, and center just dying day after day. Why? Because people can't pay their expense in a government hospital. So I was like, if I have something new to do in 2016, I will make money and I will pay for the expense.
Right.
See, this is my, have you come across this? God's plans are always higher than yours.
Yeah.
Right? So this was my plan, that I'm going to give money. How much? Even if I charge 10,000 rupees, what 2,000 rupees is going to help someone else? Or even if I want to give more. On stage, when I shared my journey with everybody and I sang Amazing Grace, I knew that it was not money that I had to give, but it is the hope that if I could do this, you can do it. That is the message I had to share. But when you say I made it situation, I felt like it on, what is that, May 11th or 12th of 2016? No, that was not it. Something else took over that position in the middle of, I think it probably was November 7th or 8th of 2016 itself, if I'm not wrong. 16 or 17? I think 17 or 16. Okay, I'll come back with the date.
Okay, what happened was?
I went on a tour not Veerdas kind of tour, or not like Coldplay kind of tour.
Right.
Someone I know from Bidar, which is the middle of Maharashtra and Karnataka, said, Gladson, your story is too inspiring, and I need to get this story across to so many more people. And why I need to have you over here is because they do not have access to TV, phones, and all of that. I'm like, doesn't seem like I can make money on this project, but sure, let's do it.
Right.
I drive my own car along with a friend of mine. He doesn't drive. I drive the entire night on my birthday. I go there. I start doing shows in like some churches, some schools, some gatherings. And what I didn't see coming is that person who is the ex-commissioner of police, if I'm not wrong, he's the person who kind of took me there. He took me to a village, which was already like 10 hours from the main city. And then from that village, we had to drive 4 more hours into some, I don't know what place it was.
Right.
And there's only 2 or 3 days in the week that you actually get electricity. And they were told that some big TV star, they put me as a TV star, is coming and he's going to do something crazy. And I went to that village. There was no lights. We reached quite late, 8:39 or something. You know what? The village people showed so much love. They made sure that they would have electricity on the day that I come.
Yeah.
And they cooked like so much food for everyone. They had this garland. And everything that they did over there, right? It just made me cry. I was like, God, was this the purpose of my life? And for them to even say this or like touch my hand, like for a handshake, was such a huge thing. I was like, what did I do? You know? So that love which I received from people who do not have anything that you and I on this podcast get, that changed my life. That is when I realized that this story was meant and orchestrated in such a way that, yes, it costed me a lung
Yeah.
to share a story of hope for I don't know how many millions. It costed one lung.
I know what you want to say, but I think I should edit this out because I'm going to ask you what's your Sankalp, but you already told us the story.
Yeah.
So you already knew what the core of our show is, and
Yeah.
what inspires and motivates you and keeps you going,
And your purpose, like
yeah.
you found it already, that trip, no money was made, but your purpose was found, which is far more priceless, right?
And we found the answer to our question.
Yeah.
What a beautiful way to end. Unfortunately, we have to end the conversation, but
No problem.
what an honor.
Yeah.
The story I wanted to take away from this was, like you said, somewhere here, and what you gave back is so much more, like the universe usually does. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Gladson, one man band Peter, for
Thank
giving
you.
us your time. I'm confident, like how that little village got its light because of you. Someone out there will listen to this story, and we are motivated, two of us. That's a beginning. So yeah, thank you so much for letting us be part of your journey.
Thank you for having me on the show. My prayer and my wish is that anyone who comes across my life, or anyone who comes in contact with me, like you guys are doing such a brilliant job by just taking inspiring and motivating stories. I pray and wish that everyone who comes across us
Yeah.
is touched in some way or the other, even if it is just taking one step at a time. It's all that matters. Everything else will just follow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect.
So thank you for being a blessing to so many people and being a source of hope.
Yeah.
What you're doing is commendable. And although we took so much time to kind of come to this stage, I always feel like everything has its own time, and in its time, it'll all be beautiful. So I am eagerly waiting to see the beauty that you guys are creating, and the little one, I'm so cute, so adorable. Take care, Sankalp and Mounika. Bye.
Advait.
Adwell. Bye-bye. Have a good day, you guys.
Bye bye.
You as well.
Ciao.